Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about mastering now. Mastering came about because of the limitations of vinyl, where the actual procedure of laying down the music onto vinyl wouldn't work so well if there was too much bass, for example, or if some frequencies came too loud, or there were some dynamic changes. So mastering was integral to getting a good sound onto vinyl. Nowadays, digital mastering is much more about trying to get as much level as possible without clipping to make your music sound as loud as possible. So in order to do that, we have to use some dynamic and EQ processing. So what I'm going to do, here we have the Shape of You example remix that I did before in the mixing EDM tutorial. You can see there's plenty of headroom here. There's plenty of room left on the top here to work with in terms of adding level, adding EQ to certain frequencies. Now, in a proper mastering studio, you would have 2 or 3 different types of speakers, so you could hear it in different configurations, and you would have really nice equipment, really nice preamps, really nice compressors, limiters, EQs, that sort of thing. We haven't got all that. We've got Logic, so that's what we're going to use. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to put in is I'm going to use some of the metering, and we're going to put in the multimeter, and this just gives us a general view of the input sound before we do any processing. So we can analyze here. Not much happening below 30 Hertz, which is good. Quite level really, but it's all a bit quiet. So first thing I'm going to do is, I've been quite careful with my bass here, so everything below 30 Hertz isn't working. But if I hadn't been careful, I would have to put in a low cut filter on the EQ to begin with. So there's still some stuff going on there. So turn on the filter, make sure we've got 48 octaves, and then just turn up. Just want to roll off that bottom bit there, because that's a lot of information which can really mess up recording. So that's fine. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some compression on it. Okay, so just a normal compressor. And I'm just going to use the Logic compressor because it is quite transparent. So I just working with the dynamics here, I just want to create a little bit of compression here, but no more than 3 dB, between 2 and 3 dB compression. So that's too much. Let's turn the threshold up. That's okay. And I'm going to turn the release time up a bit, so it takes a longer time for it to die away, and the attack time. There we go. Now bypass that. Yeah, it's just putting it together a little bit. Now I'm going to put on the multi-band compressor, which is a quite complicated piece of kit really. So it's 4 compressors in total. We can see here the 4 bands, but they are frequency dependent, so I can change different bands and compress different bands of the frequency range independently. And that's really useful for, say, you want to add a little bit of high mids or whatever. You can do that, and you can basically tweak the mix to how you want. So I'm just going to boost this a little bit, give it a little bit more presence. Now at this point I'm going to put in a limiter. So a really good limiter in Logic is the adaptive limiter, because it cheats a little bit by looking ahead before the sound actually happens, so it reacts before there is an actual sound on the input. Limiters are essentially compressors, but what we call brick wall compressors, i.e. there's no ratio in terms of the gain reduction. If it gets to a certain level, it will just stop that level getting any higher. And they use this for broadcast to make sure that there's never a really loud sound that kicks in. So that's what this adaptive limiter does. First thing I want to do is I want to turn down the gain all the way so it doesn't input gain at all, and then turn the ceiling down just 0.1 just to give myself so it doesn't hit 0. And now I just turn the gain up, so I've got a nice sort of level. Okay, so now at the end after this, put in another multimeter. See what that looks like with the beginning one. So yeah, see, I've boosted around here a bit. Okay, so there you go. That's my basic compression mastering. What I'll do now is I'll just quickly bounce that off, and then we can look at how the waveforms vary. So we'll just bounce that now. Don't need that. Do it in offline. 24-bit, 48, yes. Add project, go. Mastering tutorial, test. Go. Does that really quickly. Okay, now just find that in the, there it is. Drag that into an empty track. Master that up. So you can see I've just basically increased the level. There's still dynamics there. I mean, I could push it a lot harder with the limiting and the compression, but you get the idea. So let's hear the original. Oh, I've got to take all the take all that off. So that's without anything, and this is the mastered version. So you're a little bit more presence, a little bit more width. That's what mastering's about. So have a go, have a play with what we've gone through there, and yeah, send me some of your mixes.